Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I'm doing another Star Trek video. I thought I'd visit engineering just to mix it up a little bit. And also it's kind of related. I wanted to talk about the nuts and bolts of something in Star Trek that I always thought was kind of weird, and then I understood it, and it has an application to video game reviews as per the title. I want to talk about these, the sleeve rank insignia that Star Trek uses. This is a Captain Kirk outfit, so I've got the two braids and then the little pips to indicate a captain's rank. I always thought that was an interesting play on like naval uniforms. They've also got that kind of thing going on. And it always seemed a bit strange to me from kind of a distant, not really understanding military ranks point of view. You mean there's really only like 5 or 6 variations on this? That's all the different type of ranks that the Enterprise has? That seems kind of weird. I'm not going to deal with commodores and admirals and the upper echelons, but just like all of the characters you see on Star Trek, with an exception. The majority of characters you see on Star Trek are in their uniforms, and they've got their different rank insignia here in the original series. It was then propagated onto the motion pictures and Next Gen and stuff. I'm just going to stick with the original series version. But I just thought to myself, what? There's half a dozen different variations? That's it? Like, you've only got ensigns and junior lieutenants. What is it now? It's ensign is blank. Junior lieutenant is one set of pips. Senior lieutenant or lieutenant senior grade is the one stripe, like Mr. Sulu. Lieutenant commander is a stripe and pips, like Scotty. Commander, like Spock, is 2 stripes, and then Captain, like Kirk, is stripe and pips. That's, I think, the way it works out. And I remember thinking to myself, that's great for, like, the show and quick references to, hey, Ensign, I need you to do this. Join the lieutenant down in engineering because he's got to talk to the commander. That type of thing. That's great, nice and simplified and stuff. And when I was doing Star Frontiers, just to hit into that a little bit, I remember thinking to myself, okay, yeah, that's got to be, I want to migrate the Federation idea into Star Frontiers as well. I'll follow the same suit. But I seem to remember in Nighthawks, it broke it down into way more ranks. And I remember talking to a guy who was in the Canadian military, Army in his case, but I was just like, how many ranks are there? And it sounded like there were dozens of the darn things. So I Googled it before doing this video. In the U.S. Navy, which I assume is what Star Trek was kind of referencing, yes, there are only ensigns, junior lieutenants, senior lieutenants, lieutenant commanders, commanders, and captains. But there's also like 15 odd crewmen below that. You've got your warrant officers, you've got your seaman, you've got your petty officers. Like there's a whole world of ranks down there. So I thought, well, why isn't that represented in Star Trek? That doesn't make any sense to me, I thought. Now, I knew a guy who used to work on Star Trek, Richard Arnold. He passed away about a year ago, so rest in peace, Richard. But he was a very good insight into where Gene Roddenberry was thinking when he came up with Star Trek. And the Federation, the Enterprise, all of those things, Gene was kind of using a vague military style ranking system just to make it easy shorthand for who's in charge and who listens to who takes orders from whom, etc. And Gene apparently really didn't like how the show became, by certain groups of fans, a real strong militaristic thing. He would talk about how at various Star Trek conventions, there were some fans who would be like, I have earned the rank of captain through whatever their little fan club thing would be, whether it was like events or something in like a role-playing game. I don't really remember exactly, but you would run into fans who are like, oh no, I'm a lieutenant commander, and that's my captain, and you have to salute him, and you have to let him walk past, you have to make a hole, etc. And Gene kind of took offense to that, or he took umbrage to that, saying like, no, that's not what Star Trek is all about. It's not military. Sure, it has captains and lieutenants and that stuff, but it's not the military. You don't have to salute each other. It's not like that. Think more like a cruise ship, like the Love Boat. It's that kind of less strict kind of perspective. That's what we're going for. And I thought, yeah, that's right, that makes sense. So for this video, I thought, well, what do cruise ships have as far as ranks are concerned? I'm just curious. Again, is it ensign, junior lieutenant, senior lieutenant, blah? Yes, but they also have more levels of degradation. They have their officers. Now, their officers are, well, let's not start with them. They've got crew, they've got petty officers, and then they have officers. And their officers are not really, I mean, they've got a captain and a commander, but I believe they've got like IT officers, contracting officers. Like, it's a weird, there's like half a dozen officer types with different stripes on their arms. So yeah, even the Love Boat has slightly more ranks than the Starship Enterprise, which was kind of weird to me. I was just like, well, why are real organizations more complicated than the Federation? And I believe Gene Roddenberry's objective was, don't get lost in the weeds. This is not to glamorize an organization or an institution over and above what the main cause of it is, which is to explore new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, all that kind of stuff. It is a pseudo-military designed organization, but its objective is to go out and see things and explore. Something that he hit more upon with Star Trek The Next Generation, with like the little things on the neck. It was sort of to tear down this idea. It's not the military. Stop zoning in on that. Now, I remember thinking to myself, okay, that does explain these limited designations between rank. I think there are those odd characters that you see walking around on the Enterprise, especially even in the original series, who are wearing like, I don't know, coveralls or something, or like a boiler suit. Are those the seamen and crewmen and petty officers and warrant officers? But because we barely ever deal with those characters, we never get to find out what their rank is. I don't know. The yeoman, for example, I thought, oh, that's below ensign, right? Because doesn't Chekhov start off as an ensign? And then there's Yeoman Rand, who I don't think was around by the time Chekhov showed up. In my head, I was like, okay, who outranks whom in that situation? And then I found out, no, the yeoman is a specific type of ship class. It's one person that just takes care of the captain. You know, gets his paperwork in order, goes in order, you know, gets things prepared, gets his approval for stuff. It's his gopher, if you will, is the yeoman. There's only one yeoman aboard any ship, apparently. Anybody who's in the Navy, please let me know. I don't really follow all this stuff that closely, but I thought it was an interesting exercise. Now, over the years, I started to become very, very cool with the idea that, yeah, Star Trek has like half a dozen different ranks, and that's all they need, and that's what works. You don't need to follow into these crazy dozens of different classifications. Much like video game reviews, I get a little bit annoyed when I'm reading a review for a video game and it gets like a 7.2 or an 8.4 or a 6.9. I'm just like, okay, is there really that much of a percentage difference in different games? Like, really? And it bugs me. It bugs me. Adam Sessler, way back, not in recent years, but like way back when X-Play was still new and fresh and young, he actually made a really good comment on this very topic. He said they only give a 5-star rating on any video games. It's either bad, medium, good, or great. It's 5 different stars. Apparently he got a lot of pressure from people like, why isn't there a 4.5 stars? Why isn't there 2.5 stars? Why don't you put half stars in there? He's like, no, it's a 5 level designation. And I really started to appreciate that as I began to follow all of this stuff. There was a couple of really good articles where people were like, why do video games have such really, really granular levels of scoring when it's really just either good, medium, or awesome, or maybe somewhere in between those 3 spots? 5 does work, much like the ranks on the Enterprise. You've got your low rank guy and your high rank guy, someone in the middle, and a couple, on either side. And that's really all you need, which I think was what Gene Roddenberry's point was. Certainly the writers, we've got a captain, we've got an ensign, and somebody in between it. That's really all we need for story. Similarly, for video games, you need a top, you need a bottom, and you need a middle, and something between those two spots. Those three spots. That's all you need. So, in a weird way, these shirt designations did actually become similar to my argument when it comes to video game ratings. Case in point, a famous one out there from many years ago. On IGN, the big video game rating website, Fran Mirabella is, or was, I think he's not there anymore, he was one of their longest serving staff members, and he did a lot of reviews over the years. And he got a very famous bit of outrage from the fan community when he gave Mario Kart Double Dash a 7.9, which made it, I believe in their system back in those days, they would attach a word to whatever the ranking is, and if you were an 8 out of 10 or higher, you're great, and 9 was like amazing, 10 was incredible. Because Fran Mirabella made it a 7.9, Mario Kart Double Dash did not get a great rating. And the fans, especially the Nintendo fans, were hugely furious, and this caused a lot of grief, and Fran got a lot of trouble for it. Like, what do you mean 7.9? He's like, that's what I feel, it's not quite great. And apparently, he actually wears that now on his sleeve, or literally on his back. He's got a shirt that somebody made for him, the Fran Mirabella 7.9. It became kind of this famous story, and it became a touch point in a lot of people talking about how ridiculous it is to make a number system for any video game ratings. I like Adam Sussler's idea. Go with 5. 5 works. In fact, way back when I first started doing video game reviews on my channel, I would try and give it a star rating. If you watch some of my early stuff, it'll be like, oh, this is 3 out of 5. This is 4 out of 5. I was channeling that argument, the Adam Sussler argument. You only need 5 points. You only need 5 levels of any designation. But over the years, I forgot to do it a few times, and then I thought, you know what, people don't care about star ratings. And in fact, I've asked Steve Benway as well about that, and he's like, no, numbers don't matter. It's what you think. What is your overall opinion and reflection on the game? What's your impression? I agree. So now I don't really do any numbers at all, but if I ever go somewhere for a rating, I appreciate the 5-star system. That's all I need. I just want to know if something is good or terrible or somewhere in between, and that works. Much like the sleeves in the Star Trek universe. That's all we need. 5 different designations, or 6. Look it up. Anyway, so yes, that is a weirdly sort of a bit of a tangent there to go from the Star Trek ranking system to video game review numbers, scores. I thought it was funny that years ago IGN dropped their percolated down to the single digit level. They were going to go 0.5s. It was like a 7, a 7.5, an 8, an 8.5. They stuck with that for several years, and then they threw it away, and they're back to their 7.3, 7.4. Well, this one's a 7.6. Really? Is it that level of a difference between these games? I don't think so. But anyway, so yes, just thought I'd do a quick little video about Star Trek, its ranking system, how I got confused, and how it actually has relevance to video game reviews, in my opinion. Until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.